All right, welcome everybody for what is typically my members only content. But I thought, you know what, for this week, I wanted to release it to everybody to let you guys see what you can get if you join up with a membership. This is just some of the content that I'm giving, like I said, the members. I have my want list that's dropping before Wednesdays, or usually on Monday or Tuesdays. And then I have the top 10 that I try to get out by Thursday, early Friday, just so you can see my personal top 10 list before all the other top 10 lists, hit your agendas and see what you guys got. So just want to let you know, these are the things that I'm keeping an eye on and things that I think have been moving on the market based off of what I was looking at ahead of time over the last week and things like that. Doing this on Thursday on my little lunch break. Yep, you guys get to see my top knot because I'm not wearing a hat because I do have to do a presentation for work in about 45 minutes. So I'm trying to sneak this in really quickly to get this out to you. Because like I said, I want to get this top 10 list out to you before you start seeing all the other ones. And with that said, this is just based off of things that I'm seeing. I'm not saying you should be buying any of these. I'm not saying you shouldn't be buying any things. I'm just trying to point out where the market is on some of these books and give you some context with some prices before, after, number of sales, things like that. And hopefully you guys find that beneficial. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Please like, subscribe, hit the alert button so you don't miss anything, all that fun stuff. And like I said, just try this out. And if you like it, check out our memberships and think about joining up. And with that all said, just hang on for a few seconds after the intro, and I will show you my top 10 for this week. All right, as I said, here we go. This is going to be this week's top 10 in 10. So let me get the clock started because, again, I try to do this in 10 minutes. Not meant to be a long video at all. It's supposed to be quick, easily to digest, and just give you a quick sense of what's going on in the market. And with that, let's get this clock going starting now. All right, so to start us off for this week, we are going to do a little bit of a follow-up. So again, I told you, I do a little drop. I dropped this on Monday, looking ahead for the books that were coming out this week, some of the incentive variants, some of the new releases, and this is going to be a follow-up on some of those books from earlier in the week, just to give you a sense of, all right, now that they hit the market and hit the shelves, what are they doing? Our first book, pre-selling all over the place because Diamond decided to call this the Inferno Squad's first appearance, even though this is not their first appearance, not their first cover appearance, not any of that, but they decided to coin it that with this, first appearance variant, though it's not entirely true. And it started to get a lot of pre-sales going. As you can see, before Wednesday, we had sales $10 to $15 in a lot of cases. And that's what it's kind of been selling for, pre-selling, for the last month or so since Diamond released that little description. Since Wednesday hit, yes, there's the occasional like $9 sale, but by and large, you can see a lot of the My Comic shops, regular sales. This is just selling for cover price. You can probably find plenty of these on the shelves at your shops. This is not generally a hard to find book from all that I can see. So don't go paying a premium because you expect this to be something on the aftermarket. I just don't think this is going to have any long-standing value because, again, it's not really their first. They've showed up before. This is not even their first cover. Though I do like this cover, just know what you're buying and don't overpay. Next up, one of the other books I told you to keep an eye out for because it was pre-selling pretty well was the 1 in 25 for Nightwing 100, the second print 1 in 25. I generally don't like these. I've mentioned that a number of times. I don't like incentives on later printings, but I did like this cover. I didn't like the foil version of it, personally, because I don't like the DC foil books. And I like this story. Nightwing's actually been a good read. I haven't been reading it long term, but I checked this out as part of our review show, and I liked it. So I'm going to keep trying to read this. This 1 in 25 second print was pre-selling for about $65. Earlier in the week, those were what, March 2nd sale, so right before the release on Tuesday, because this is a DC book after all. And since then, well, it's maintained that price, if not increased, as we're seeing now March 8th sales of $70 and $110 for this 1 in 25. So this one has actually increased since those pre-sales, which isn't something you see very often. So one to keep an eye on, even though it is a second print incentive. I do dig this cover. Moving on to another book that I talked about on Monday, the 1 in 50 for Flash 794. This is one of those foils that I think the DC puts out for their high ratio incentives, Virgin. It's just kind of muddy. I just don't like it. It just looks washed out. The color just doesn't pop as I would like on the foils. But this is what this thing was pre-selling for. There was a cheap sale, as I pointed out on Monday, of $15, but early on there was a best offer on $120. So a lot of expectations for this Flash book. It is a 1 in 50, so it is a higher ratio incentive, making it tougher to find. But since Tuesday, when this book came out, it's still kind of increased a little bit, selling for $80 on March 8th and a best offer on $100. So when copies got in people's hands, it still moved for above that ratio price, which again is not something we normally see. Our last look back follow up from my list on Monday is this 1 in 100 high ratio incentive for Amazing Spider-Man 21. This is one of those Disney books. Everybody loving these Disney books. There's the regular color version variant for the regular issue, but the 1 in 100s are these black and white versions. And I think the early ones might have been under ordered, so that warranted some of the higher prices. I think people caught on as we were getting through. We still got another one coming. Some of the prices pre-selling $150, $130. And yeah, there was one under ratio at $80, but $150, $130 pre-selling. Once this actually hit the shelves, it's still right around that range, but not as strong as those 150 auction sales as we're seeing $100, 110, 125. So it might come down a little bit as there are exclusive variants and incentives like that go out to all those stores. So there's plenty of copies of this to go around. You look how many are listed, you'll see there's plenty to be had. So this isn't that hard to find. It's just kind of expensive because it is a 1 in 100 variant. Next up, we're going to get into the new stuff. So for you guys who are not members, those were things I already covered on Monday. Looking ahead, that was the follow-up to see where they're at now after they hit the shelves. But let's look at some of the newer books to this list that were not on last week's list, starting with first appearance of what's her name? Hallows Eve. Well, her character, not as Hallows Eve or whatever this new goblin character is. It's still selling pretty well. This is Spider-Man The Lost Years, has some foil on the cover, and yes, there's been a lot of $10, $15 sales, but it's starting to tick up into that $27, almost $30 range. So just something to keep an eye on. I don't think this has long-term holding value, of my personal opinion, but that's kind of where it's trending right now. So let's just see where this kind of goes. We're going to get into some option stuff because, as we all know in this market, option news decides to move the market for anything, indie, Marvel, DC, things just start moving. So last week's announcement that they're going to be making a Good Asian show on, I don't even know what network or what service, but the news that this has got optioned and it may be made into something decided to start moving a ton of these books. There's Good Asian 1. This is the cover A, but don't sleep on the cover B, which is the Sena Takata, if I'm saying her name properly. This second cover here, because I kind of like that one. And it seems to be moving for a little bit less because people aren't instantly recognizing it. Maybe it's because the cover A is the one that's getting pushed on app notifications and things like that. But an IG post. But keep an eye out for both if you're out shopping. But don't go overpaying. I mean, it's still not moving for a ton. There are sales in that like $15 to $20 kind of range, and there have been over 100 sales just this last week, whereas before this was like a cover price book. So just keep that in mind. Don't go overpaying, but if you find out you shop for cover price, well, maybe you grab one if you're that interested. Give it a read. Check it out. But 100 plus sales still is nothing to be ignored. So a lot of copies moving in that $10 to $15 kind of range. Some a little higher, some a little lower, but by and large, there's the price. We also got news or rumors of who the girl from Euphoria is going to be playing, and it could be Julia Carpenter. Here, Spider-Woman first appeared in Secret Wars #7. I mean, technically, I guess she cameoed in issue 6, but she's on the cover here and is even put down below, hey, Spider-Woman. So everybody loves this book. Pink cover, Secret Wars, 60 plus sales just this past week following this, rumor news of who Sydney Sweeney, that's her name, who would be playing. And you can see copies still selling. Raw copies in the lower grades are still getting $20. 9/8 getting best offers on 230, $90 9/6. So it's just copies are moving, but the prices are still kind of where they've been for a while. Like this is a book that people have been looking at the last couple of years. So it didn't come out of nowhere. It's just kind of back on people's minds and on their radar. So copies are moving again. Just like Sentry, another book, and another more rumored announcement, rumors of who Stephen Young might be playing. And I don't know. I don't like this personally, if this is to be true, because I don't really want to see Sentry in the Thunderbolts movie. I want a different character. But if this is the way they decide to go, I'll give it a chance, but it's just not what I'm looking for. But again, another character, been spec'd on for years. So what I found interesting, not as even the number of sales, is how the prices of the mid-grade copies have come up. Look, these sales, 60, 85, 150 bucks are for fine to very fine copies. This all black cover, hard to get in high grade. Yes, everybody wants a high grade copy, but it's the idea that people are buying the very fine copies for 60 to 100 bucks is kind of interesting to me. So any copy, if you can find one cheap enough out there, might be worth your time to consider. Other news that we got here as we're trying to wrap this up, coming near the end of our 10 minutes, is continued rumors of Jason Momoa wanting to play Lobo. So people are excited by that. People are excited by James Gunn's new energy. I want to see it before I start getting 100% behind it. I like James Gunn. I don't know if I like him running an entire universe, but we'll see. But if Jason Momoa or they do find somebody else who can play Lobo, I'm curious. I'm curious. So Lobo selling again. And the prices are getting higher. Like this has consistently been like at least 50 to $100, but now we're seeing a lot of $150 sales. So prices are just kind of slowly inching up once again. So something to be aware of and something to keep an eye on. Just like the next book, which is more of a magazine than a comic. Topher mentioned this in his comic first appearances, I think last week. And this is one that after that, and after the announcement that Amazon is going to be making a Day of the Triffids show, people started looking for this magazine, which is kind of the first appearance of the Triffids. And this thing started to sell. So keep an eye on those magazine boxes. Keep an eye on those, yard sales, Goodwills, wherever you can find old mags. Look for this because it might make you a couple of bucks. Prices selling anywhere from $25 for lower end copies to up to $200 for higher grade raw. Not a lot graded for this thing yet, but I bet that will change in the coming months. But as you can see here, $40, $100 sales. The higher the grade, the higher the price. And it's just something interesting to keep an eye on. And with that, that was the list of books that I thought were interesting for this week. Hopefully you enjoy that. Hopefully you found this helpful. Once again, thank you to all of my members. I appreciate you all. I appreciate everybody else who subscribes as well. Not saying you have to be a member. I just wanted to show you guys what the members are getting with their membership. And this is one of the videos. I might even preview the want list next week as well. So you give you guys a taste of that, little piece too. And then plus we have little specials. Marco likes to show some behind the scenes stuff that he's doing as well. So having a lot of fun doing this. Appreciate you all. And yeah, there's our 10 minutes. We are up. And I got to get back to work. And I'll get you the dollar bin digging later today. And more content on the way as usual. All right, later.